All right, guys, what is up? Dirty Mike and Cobbs Creek Beef are back with another installment of Fourth and 26 Philly Sports Podcast. How you doing there, Beef? You have a good Christmas?
Absolutely. Welcome back, 4th to 26. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, Christmas was great. I mean, we had a nice break from vacation from work. So, that's always good. And then we were able to get a win last night, and the boys were able to,
Mhm.
bring it back to first place in the division. And I think that this Christmas and then the New Year coming up this weekend might yield us first place and a division championship.
All right, well, then let me ask you, coming off of the win, do you feel better about the team or worse about the team after what you saw and, kind of how close the game got and just how many unforced errors and just turnovers the team continues to do? How do you feel about them right now? Do you feel worse or do you feel better after this win?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm gonna throw a statistic out for you, and you
All
tell
right.
me this will this will segue into that. The Birds are minus 65 in
Mhm.
point like turnover differential this year.
You
Minus
mean
65.
you mean a point differential?
Well, yeah, for when they start like the second half or they end the
Oh, okay,
game.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. They're the worst in the league. They're 30th or like 28th in red zone defense or something like that. 27th points allowed. They give you a heart attack, but they find the ways to win. And when the playoffs start, it's these types of wins that's going to force them to be gritty about the way they play, especially if we could get home field at least through the first two games. And you never know, maybe we could even still get that first seed, Foods.
Yeah, because if we can even, I was kind of looking at how the seedings were kind of shaking out. Even if we end up with the win the division and end up with the number 3 seed, we could very well be playing, Tampa Bay in the first round. Maybe get a win there, and let's say Dallas, ends up with the number 5 seed, and let's say they win in the first round. Then all of a sudden you have, probably Dallas and San Francisco in the second round. So, let those guys beat themselves up a little bit, and then maybe we can get something there. But it's still an outside shot at the number 1 seed. But San Fran would have to lose one, the Lions would have to lose one, and we'd have to win out. So that's kind of where we're at.
Those stinking Lions, Foods. Dude, they're a juggernaut right now. And I'll tell you who else is looking pretty good. The Rams don't look terrible either.
Well, the Rams have San Francisco the last week of the season.
And we
So
own, yeah, and we own this the tiebreaker if the Rams ever got anywhere with us because we beat them already. But I don't think
yeah,
they would even reach us. Yeah.
so our rooting interests at this point are going to be, as much as we would never want this to happen, root for the Cowboys over the Lions this week, which I can't watch it. I'll just won't watch the game. I can't root for the Cowboys, but that looks like that would be the most likely outcome, for a loss for the Cowboys. And then you got San Francisco at home against the Rams the last week of the season. So if they could both get tripped up in those games and the Eagles can win the last two as they're expected to, and double digit favorites in both of them, then that's our path to the number 1 seed.
And especially since that Arizona game is going to be here. Thank God. Because Arizona is a pain in the ass. Remember we played them last year and it came
Yeah.
down to that? Kyler Murray, he
Yep.
slid too short and then they missed the field goal.
And Gannon's going to have some extra juice, to try to beat the Eagles this year instead of maybe just packing in at the end of the year, instead of just being another game on a failed season. I think they're going to have some extra motivation to, come in here and beat us.
Well, if he's going to dial up blitzes, I'll be surprised. And let me tell you, this Giants game that Jalen just played in, that
Mhm.
was the most amount of blitz that he's ever seen this year. So it was like 68% of their snaps, well, the defensive coverages were blitzes. It was amazing. And he picked them up. He did well. So
He
maybe he can
did.
see through these blitzes now.
Yeah, I think he had a good game. The one interception I didn't really think was necessarily his fault. Goddard looked like he kind of slipped there, and it wasn't a great throw anyway, but, probably shouldn't have been picked. But, he definitely made enough plays to win it, and I I don't know how I feel about that, Doc. I mean, to just barely beat the Giants is, if you look at some of their rankings, they're at the very bottom of the NFL in, defense and offense too. And, they were definitely able to, we've made too many mistakes. I mean, that second half kickoff, I mean, we're in week 16, 17 of the season and still making mistakes like that.
Dude, that was the third time that shit has happened this year where they've collided either in a kickoff or from under center or snap.
I don't know if you saw it though. Zacchaeus actually got blocked and thrown back, so he got manhandled that far back.
Well, he shouldn't be blocking that far back anyway. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to have some awareness there and get away from him. So
I hear you. It's funny because it was Boston Scott too, who's the giant killer.
Yeah, so that was really disappointing. I want to try something new with a segment here. I watch Reuben Frank's Eagle Eye podcast. I don't know if you've ever watched that or watch it or listen to it, but they got some great points in it. They were doing something that I was kind of curious to see our take on that. They would do something where they would go back and forth talking about something positive that you're taking from the game and then something that's alarming for the game. So I'm going to take something positive for the game to start. And the positive thing I'm going to take is when they commit to the run. I really like the way DeAndre Swift goes, especially as he gets stronger as the game goes on. I feel like, you can't just give him a carry or two in the first half and then expect, him to break off a big run. He's a home run threat on every play. And I think when the playoffs start, it's really cold out. That's going to be our path to victory, not, shootouts. I think we need to be a running team first. And that's really how we had our success last season. More so with Jalen running the options, but he a lot more recklessly. But so that's something I would take positive from the game is DeAndre Swift's really looking great.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that. First of all, you were talking about Jalen running. When he hawked that dude down almost to the end zone, that was great.
And horsepower than the boot, it was great.
It's okay. I mean, I like the effort, and it shows me that his knee isn't as bad as everyone thinks.
No, he looked great running him down. So that was definitely positive. So what's something alarming that you're taking from the game?
Well, my 1 second positive. Just one more piggyback.
You don't do the positive. We go positive, negative.
All right. Okay.
And then you'll do a second. Then you'll do a.
No, I understand. I got you. Right. I wasn't going to count his run as positive. I was piggybacking off of what you were saying. Yeah. But so negative now, right?
Something alarming, what's something that you're alarming after taking consideration of watching the game?
Gotcha. Okay. I think that Jalen's decision making is still a little suspect. There's some throws
at the end of the half where he
get out of bounds.
He all of a sudden went back inbounds, and if that guy didn't make a stupid play on the ball like that, the time would have ran out. We wouldn't have even got a field goal,
and we would have been 5 points. 3 points closer, obviously. But that decision making, because the decision making he had been undertaking in San Fran, Dallas, very questionable. And then, of course, what happened in Seattle. So it's nice to see that he's making crisp throws, picking up blitzes, but still his decision-making at the end of the half needs to improve.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I agree 100%. And I'm going to do something that I found alarming, and then you could do a positive.
Okay.
Something that I find alarming, again, is our inability to put lesser teams away and keep them in the games and keep coughing up leads. I was feeling pretty good at halftime, 20-3, and I was saying, it's good. Christmas night, beating up the Giants. This looks like this is going to be a rout, and then sure enough, they just let them back into the game with turnovers and mistakes, and they just go for long stretches of time where the offense just looks just completely anemic and they have no idea what they're doing, and then they'll put together a 15-play drive where they look unstoppable and then back to nothing. And I feel like the offense has no identity, and I think that's on the coordinator. I think that's on Brian Johnson. I think his play calling is very stagnant. It's very stale, and we took for granted last year, but at this point, I would certainly like to have that back.
Yeah, could use some more creativity. I think the
Yeah.
fact that that you say it's kind of vanilla, no trickery. I also think that bleeds into the defense a little too, because like you said, that like affects everybody. It trickles down, so it makes complete sense that you'd want that to improve. Totally understand that. I will say that our coaching in general is a little suspect when it comes to those after they've done those first scripted plays. It's like they kind of forget about the bread and butter plays, like you said, running, rush the ball, things like that, and they go and they do weird,
Just weird stuff.
yeah, like 4th and 8, and they'll just be like, all right, let's throw it 7 yards, or like 10 screens in a row, or something.
Yeah, if they throw that wide receiver screen one more time, it's going to get intercepted. I'm sure of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. They're getting predictable. Positive. I like this as an outside the box. I think that their return game, punt returns, he is looking great. They're fantastic. Picking up the gunners, all those guys. They're great at creating lanes, and he is able to take a hit, absorb a hit, and not go down. And that's what we need.
Yeah, he's not the fastest guy. If you watch him run, he's not the fastest guy on the field, but he has good vision and he's tough. He's hard to bring down, and he just, like you said, he has good vision, and that means a lot in the return game. And he's tough to bring down for sure, and he's looking great. I mean, he had a screaming. That was some of the most exciting plays yesterday.
Dude, imagine if he breaks one in the playoffs. What a momentum shift that could be, because it'll come out of nowhere before end of a half, at the start of a third quarter, whatever.
How about Covey as our wide receiver 3?
I don't know if he's got the hands for it, Doc. Does he have the hands? That's the thing. I mean, I don't want to get any type of interception. Plus, I don't know how well he knows the playbook for offense.
Of course he knows the playbook. He's a wide receiver.
I hear you. It's like trying to get Quez Watkins involved or something.
I don't want Quez Watkins involved.
I'd rather just use the Swifty and Smith. Use Devonta Smith. Use AJ, and I don't mind like seeing Gainwell catch in the flat sometimes.
He had a great game.
Okay,
he looked
good.
For Swift to be successful in the running game, to be successful, they got to have that 1-2 punch. And I think Gainwell and Swift had that 1-2 punch, and they looked really good. And that was definitely a bright spot I saw.
And they were getting the real foundation of their rushes were the line. The line was actually holding up. They were not breaking at the wrong time. They were offering a little protection here and there, but they were creating good gaps. And the gaps that they were able to create were just wide enough. It was like Earl Campbell, he just right through,
I'll tell you, Foods, I don't know why they won't tailor this around the running game. They have a play with the brotherly shove that is completely unstoppable within 2 yards. That if they just even commit to running to the ball and can get to a third and short, 4th and 1, they're going to convert it almost every time, and no other team in football can do that. So by definition, that gives them an advantage over every single team in football. And
it's like 1st and 9.
Yeah, it really is. 1st and 8, 8.5. I mean, every time. Just keep running the ball. You're going to get 4 yards a carry at least. Then you're going to be in those 3rd and 2s to where you can run it again and then do a shove if you need, or just a regular QB sneak. I mean, Jalen's super successful with regular QB sneaks as well. I'm seeing variations of the brotherly shove, going off the side, faking it and going to passes. It's a whole formation, man. I definitely think they could lean into it a little more even.
Do you think that Nick Sirianni really does hold back over the year, the course of a football, season, plays, certain effort, different things that he gets inspired about that he breaks out later in the year?
I was saying that, it's so hard to get up for a big game, let alone 6 of them in a row. So after 4 of them, I mean, now now it's time for the 49ers, and then it's time for the Cowboys. And we weren't going to win all of them. Even, to go 3-3, 4-2, 4-3, whatever we went during that stretch, we knew we were going to lose a few of them. So, maybe they didn't show all their plays against the 49ers or against the Cowboys. And, maybe if we have to go against them in the playoffs, they can, hey, we didn't see this shit. And now all of a sudden it works.
Yeah, new look, anything. I think that it's something only a genius. I don't want to call him a genius, but like a chess player genius.
Right. You're thinking the long term, because watching the game, I was thinking, man, this looks like a preseason offense. It just looks so generic and so vanilla and missionary. It was just so basic.
Yeah, and the defense wasn't looking great. I mean, they weren't pressing their coverage. They were bend, don't break. They looked like shit in the red zone, just letting everything go. The best player, so far this year is freaking Jake Elliott, for God's sakes.
He sure is. And that brings me to the defensive side of the ball. I mean, God, if you would have told me week 16 of the season they were going to be starting undrafted free agent Ben Van Sumeren, and Shaq Leonard looked good. He got a sack and a couple tackles for losses, but you
knew it would take him some time. You just knew.
And I think he'll be good. And once Cunningham and Morrow come back, that's going to be some much-needed depth as well. Maddox is going to hopefully be coming back in the next week, or probably this week, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And, they need consistency. And now all of a sudden you got Keely Ringo starting and, Eli Ricks. And I think it might be good to get some reps in these young guys and see if they can play.
That's why I'm not terribly upset if they don't get. I would love for them to get the first seed and get the bye. It would be great. It would be ideal. But there's something to say about that bye week sometimes, because divisional weekend, in my opinion, after Super Bowl, weekend is the best weekend of football in the playoffs. Divisional weekend is the best.
And it is. And, when a team's already fought in a playoff game, you already have that intensity going into the game that sometimes you can catch a team like the 49ers or the Cowboys by surprise the first quarter and a half, to where they go a few 3-and-outs to start the game. And if you can put, 10, 14 points on the board before they start figuring it out, you got a shot to win. And I really believe that's a thing.
And not only that, but you got to think the Lions are going to be, somewhere in the playoffs this year, which is no problem. Good for them. I'm glad they won their division, but they don't have playoff experience. 30 years, they were still, the last time they were in the playoffs, they were still, NFC Central, for God's sakes, Foods.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they were still using shoulder pads that were up to their ears.
Yeah, so they don't have that experience. So I think they're a dangerous team for sure, but I don't think the way that the seeding's kind of laying out, where we really probably wouldn't go against them unless they made it to the NFC championship game, or if they just made it to the NFC championship game. Yeah. That's really about the only shot we would have if they upset like the 49ers or something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting playoff. I mean, this is what the NFL wants, though, Foods. They want us to stay engaged. They want us to stay intrigued. They want us to stay interested, because we all know those last game, maybe even the last 2 games, depending on your record, it's already sewed up. You don't have to play your starters, yada, yada, yada. So they want you to stay with them till January 7th.
They do. And they'll
the
do
whole way.
They'll do anything to enforce the script, as we all like to say. And, I think you might believe it a little bit more than I do. But at the same time, we got to talk about NFL officiating this year. It's been horrific.
Everyone who's an Eagles fan and a 4th and 26 fan knows I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist, guys. I do think that Vegas can put their prints on certain games. I'm not going to get crazy and say they do every game all the time, but there is just so much money now floating around, billions of dollars, Foods. Nobody is immune to a little bribery. I'm sorry, they just are.
Just the inconsistency, just the terrible calls. Like I just roughing the passer calls are just out of control. Some of the things that they call, it's like, what can the defender do? How can you still play tackle football?
Phantom calls, Foods. Calls that don't exist. It's like, which is worse, the one that looked bad that they shouldn't have called, or the one they called that didn't exist at all?
Yeah,
I don't know which was worse.
It's a disgrace. It's been awful this year, and it's something that definitely has to be addressed in the offseason, whatever way you can. I don't know what the hell they can do, but it's definitely been a mess this year, and it's definitely had its imprint on a few games, like you said.
Dude, you saw it last night when Lamar stepped on the ref in the end. That was goddamn funny. Oh my God.
I mean, the ref just got straight in his way. I mean, how you say ref have an impact in the game? I mean, he tried to tackle a motherfucker.
It was I was laughing my head off when he did that.
How much more of an imprint can the ref have? I mean, he's a 12th defender.
Now, for defense, Lamar didn't have to backstep 20 yards into the end zone to get away.
He didn't. The ref got caught, and he was just like, "Oh shit, he's coming this way."
Yeah, that was fun. Hey, but you're right. I mean, directly 2 points. That was worth 2 points. Now, luckily, the 49ers didn't win the game, and I mean, Brock Purdy. What happened? He said that his shoulder started hurting. Some bullshit. See, they can't play from behind either. They're like the Vikings of last year, dude.
Here's an example of the refs impacting a game directly. The game against the Seahawks. If you remember, we had it at the 2-yard line, and Kelsey got called for the false start for moving the ball or whatever they called it. You know that we were going to punch that in with the brotherly shove right there. It was going to go in the end zone. That's 7 points. We ended up having to settle for 3. I mean, that's a game right there.
And that was the ball game, exactly. But this is the thing. They're looking for that now. He was warned, and I get it. You don't shift the ball, don't touch it. I understand. But now they're going to look for it because they know it's an automatic penalty. So
I feel like they are really starting to scrutinize the brotherly shove to look in to make sure nobody's offside. And I'm still seeing a lot. It looks like a lot of defenders are really still lining up in the neutral zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Because they're trying to get that jump, and I totally understand it. But that's one of the things that makes the brotherly shove nigh impeccable, not absolutely infallible. We're still susceptible to penalties, false starts. Shit can happen all the time.
And it does. I feel like they get at least one penalty a game on the brotherly shove.
Yeah, whether or not it's a formation or if it's a false start. I mean, too many penalties in the red zone. That's the other thing. You know what I mean? Getting them, pushing them back. That's going to hurt them.
Untimely penalties. They'll just kill you. And what are penalties, Foods? I say all the time. I beat this down my family's throat constantly. They're drive killers. They are just drive killers. Soon as you get that whole penalty brings you down the 1st and 20, 2nd and 20, your momentum's shot in that drive pretty much.
And this goes back to the refs because you really could call a hold or like a false start or an offsides or, neutral zone. If it's not really that difficult, it's pretty much every play. So
yeah, you could call Lane Johnson for a false start just about every play.
Yeah, he's got a great kick slide, man. That thing is like 0.2 seconds before he hikes the ball.
It's so close. It's so close, but it looks like it. But they let him get away with it. So it's definitely a huge advantage. But a lot of dumb penalties. Jalen Carter, another couple penalties, and I feel like we got to talk about the elephant on the defense. Foods, is Bradbury shot? Is he done?
I think the whole DB situation needs to be looked at. I mean, they're letting Slayton getting behind him. That was I don't think that was Bradbury.
That was Blankenship.
Blankenship, right? Okay, but still, that is the last thing at 3 minutes or 4 minutes left in the ball game that you can do is let that motherfucker get behind.
What can't you do, Foods? You say it all the time. What can't you do?
Yeah, what like you turn around, right? Or
You
when the
can't.
quarterback throws the ball.
You can't let the dead get in.
Oh, okay, I got it.
You
That
can't
4th and
let the dead.
26. That could apply for every sport, any sport.
There are 4th and 26. There are two undeniable truths in life. Number one, you can't let the dead get in. Number two, a
Scotty
dollar.
doesn't know.
$1 will always get you how many chips, Foods?
At 30 on the nose, any time of day, any day
On
of the
the
week.
finger. $1 will always get you 30 chips when you just challenge anybody to a heads-up poker match. $1 will always get you 30.
Oh my God, that was so much fun back in the day.
It was.
Poker, poker, poker. But I'll tell you, boy, let me tell you that the Brewers are playing some poker right now because if they can't,
We're playing
if they
roulette.
can, well, yeah, shit. If they can win on Sunday, and again they lock up the division, I don't care about the game on the last game of the season. I want them to win it, but it's going to be in New York, so a lot of things can happen until then. But I really think that this Arizona game, and it's a 1:00 game. It's the last 1:00 game I think we have this year. So they're going to play, and I think that if they can take them out, and I feel that the Lions, I think they might actually lose this one. They got to come back down to earth at some point, Foods. They have to.
You know what? They've had an easy second half schedule. They've had an easy schedule the second half of the year. So, we definitely knew the 13-4, 14-3 was going to be in play for them.
And I mean, Dallas sucks on the road, so we know that. But I mean, this is in AT&T, right? I think this is in their stadium.
I think so, yeah.
So I mean, it might, it's going to be difficult, but maybe we could pray for a tie.
Yeah, that'd be something. But yeah, as long as we can finish ahead of the Cowboys to where if we possibly have to go against them in an NFC Championship type of outlook, then we have the home field advantage, So that's all we can ask for. The 49ers certainly came back down to earth last night, but we do not have a Baltimore Ravens defense. That is for certain.
They're certainly not. But we have a kicker that is quite comparable to my man, don't we?
We do. We do have a great kicker. They were showing Justin Tucker's numbers, and they were good and all like usual. But it's over 50 yards. He's 0 for 4. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like Jake Elliott hits a 50-yard field goal or two every single game.
Yeah, every single half, pretty much.
Yeah. He's getting 60-yarders. I mean, he's having a great year. He's having another All-Pro year for sure.
Dude, he's saved our bacon at least 4 or 5 times this year.
He really did. That 58, 59-yard field goal in the rain, I mean, that completely saved us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the one that comes to mind right away. I think the one, didn't he help us out in one of the Dallas, I think either his Dallas game, he had a good game there. Buffalo, obviously. Tampa Bay was good.
Foods, we talk about the right now they're 11-4. And they were only a couple bounces away from, 3 of those wins being a loss. And you say, who is this team? They've kind of showed you all year who they are. They just, closed out a couple games by, the skin of their teeth, that if it would have swung the other way, they could be looking at an 8-7 team right now.
Well, I'll close with this because I know we want to move on a little to some other sports, but I'll close it with the 4th and 26, comment below, the whole spiel. I think that knowing that we've defeated 4 teams that have a record of 9 wins or more this season really helps us focus on these last 2 games because there's no reason we should lose these two.
Taking care of business. We just got to take care of business, and we will win the division. It's as simple as that. We got some time. We ran about 30 minutes with the Eagles. I want to talk about the Sixers for a little bit here. Coming off a loss on Christmas, without Embiid, they played them tough. They came back from a 20-point deficit, and they brought it close at the end, but ultimately couldn't finish it off. But, the Sixers have been hot the last, few weeks, and it's because of Embiid. He's been playing at more than an MVP level. He's been playing at just an all-world, all-time level right now. He's out of his mind, Foods.
Yeah, 40 points, 50 points. He gets great, foul percentages. He's looking great for playing minutes, minutes played, except obviously, what happened now. It's nice that Harden moved, he's gone. So now we get some other players that are able to develop a little more, also get a bigger role, in the game themselves with Maxey, Harris, what have you. It's nice to see that the coach is putting them in proper places too. Good sets. They're good transition ball. A lot of points off the transition. That's nice. So I mean, as long as they don't have to play Boston 10 more times, which they do. Again, I think 4th and 26, they don't play them again until after the All-Star break.
I don't think so. Right now, they are sitting at 20 wins and 9 losses.
Okay, it's not terrible.
And the number 3 seed, 3 games back of Boston. Milwaukee's a game and a half back. But, it's a case of both of those teams. Boston's 14-0 at home. Milwaukee's 16-2 at home, but 9-6 on the road, 6-6 on the road. These are teams that, you want to stack these wins early so that when the playoffs start, you have that home field advantage. Ultimately, we got to get past Boston this year. This is the year that if we can't get past Boston, I don't know what the Sixers team is going to look like next year.
Yeah, I mean, what is Embiid going to do? He ain't going to hang around here forever if he can't get through the second round. I mean, they still got time for the trade deadline. We were talking about that. Yeah. All-Star break, things like that. So there's plenty of basketball to be played. But you're right, Foods. If you don't get to the conference championship in this round, I mean, who's going to watch? Who's going to go through another year of this?
Do you move Maxey at the trade deadline? Not Maxey, Jesus Christ. Do you move Tobias Harris at the trade deadline? Because I really kind of feel like the Sixers have been kind of window shopping him, giving him some extra playing time and showcasing him a little bit extra the last couple of weeks.
When is the trade deadline? It's sometime in January, is it? Or February?
Let's see.
Yeah, because
trade deadline.
I don't think that I would.
February 8th. February 8th.
So I wouldn't mind trading him if they're going to plateau and kind of tread water for the next 5-6 weeks. Something that might need to be shaken up, especially if they lose to Florida teams, Orlando, the Heat. They play the Bulls a couple times. You don't want to go like you said. You want to make your hay now. So if they're doing it, I wouldn't ruin the chemistry.
Yeah, I don't think I would because Toby's finally playing really well. He's playing with confidence. I think Nick Nurse has something to do with that. And just, that toxic, locker room or, whatever was going on with Doc towards the end, I kind of feel like he lost the team for sure. But, I feel like they really have something and they have a really deep bench this year. There might be something available to trade deadline, to maybe bolster the bench, which you could always use help with. But, Maxey really took that extra step. This year. He took that from that rookie jump to that second-year jump, third. He really is just taking that extra jump to being like a 25, 26-point-a-game scorer now.
I'm impressed. I really am. I think that their success is mirroring the Flyers' success as well. Like, they're on that same type of trajectory. You got the young guys finally making some contributions. You have good center stoppers. We got good goalies. It's nice to see two teams that are, I would say, secondary in this city still vault up and stay parallel with each other. It's nice. There's good balance.
Philly's a hockey town, man. They want to be a hockey town. They really do. But, it's been lean, man. It's been lean. But
we still got some time on that hockey front. I mean, the basketball, we're in a better situation and better – I guess
are we
experience.
Though?
Yeah. Well,
are we really? Let's argue that because if the Sixers get bounced out in the second round or for God forbid first round this year, I mean, what's their future going to look like? At least the Flyers are a young team and have some decent parts and hopefully we get some. In the NHL, you need talent to win. In the NBA,
especially playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you need
snipers.
Yeah. And the Flyers have been short on talent for many years now. So
it's a good turnaround. They're turning around well, though. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
around well, but we need to get a couple big free agents that want to play in here in Philly for sure. But
Mhm.
you know, the Sixers will go as far as Maxey and Embiid take them. I mean, Embiid's averaging 35 points a game. I think he has a streak of 13 straight games averaging 30-10. It's the longest streak since I think Kareem at like 73. So I mean, that's 50 years.
Yeah, and like we had said before, I mean, they're getting decent coaching now. It's not like there's any type of poison in the locker room. The players aren't, forming cliques with each other like basketball divas like to do. So,
Yeah.
it's nice that the young guys are working with the old guys. They're able to, for the first time, really feel like a cohesive unit in these last 2-3 years.
They do. They do feel like a cohesive team this year because, we have the talent on the bench this year for sure. So I look forward to them doing it, Foods. I think this could be the year, and it has to be the year. If not, I don't know how this team's going to survive. I don't know how Embiid is going to stay here if they can't, take that next step this year. And I understand it's the first year under Nick Nurse, and it may not be fair to say he's got to make the conference finals the first year, but unfortunately, that's the situation he's kind of coming into.
He was kind of brought here for that reason too. I mean, he's had so much success. We want to get a piece of that.
Yeah. I mean, he owes it to Embiid. I mean, the way that they made him cry.
Yeah, about to say when they win the triple. What was it? The quadruple doink?
Oh my God, Foods. But yeah, Sixers are looking good, but like you said, show it to me in the playoffs. And right now, the Flyers, I believe, are third place in the Metropolitan Division, as you said.
Yeah, they're looking real good. They're third out of 8. They playing some decent games. They went down. I think they lost the Predators and they lost in the shootout to the Red Wings. But at least they got points out of it. They're doing well for a team that had the whole front office completely wiped out. And then just everyone else came, a whole new group came in, and they look great. I mean, they could go to the playoffs. You don't know yet.
Yeah.
Long season. Long season.
Well, right now they are sitting third in the Metropolitan Conference.
That's great.
And for the playoffs, they're tied for the number 4 seed. Only 1 point back at the number 3 seed. So, I mean, they're right there.
Yeah, I'll take that all day. And they picked up some defensemen. They got some wingers. Their goalie looks pretty solid. Erson's good. Yeah. They could really take this, and if they could carry this into at least the first round, maybe the second, Foods, I will have gotten my money's worth.
Yeah, and that's the difference with expectations. The Flyers, if they could, make it to the second round of the playoffs, I think, and be competitive even, I think we'd be is that Wawa green tea?
You saw it. Good eye.
I did. I think if they can make it to the second round and be competitive or even be really competitive in the first round, I think you got to consider this season a success. It just shows you the difference between expectations between the Flyers and the Sixers. And I feel like we're at a pinnacle right now to where the expectations are high for just about all of our sports teams. I mean, it's Super Bowl or bust for the Eagles. It's World Series or bust for the Phillies. And it's East Conference Championship or finals for the Sixers. I mean, that's a lot of freaking pressure, man.
Yes, certainly for 3 out of the 4 teams. I'll even throw the Union in there. What the hell? Why not?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and the Eagles have been a tough watch this year. There are some you'll never convince me otherwise that last year was the best Eagles team that we've ever put on the field. And we came so close to winning the Super Bowl because if we would have won that, just one extra play to win it, that would have went down as the best Eagles team of all time. Unfortunately, they didn't win the Super Bowl, and even if the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year, you can't convince me that last year's team wasn't better. And they were just so enjoyable to watch because they were just so explosive and dynamic. And it's just like this year just seems like it's just back down to earth, kind of. And it's unfair because last year really took the joy out of watching the Eagles for the immediate future because they were so good last year. We hold everything, up to that standard. And it's unfair.
It's You're not wrong. 2 points. What you said about the way that we're playing this year versus last year. You know what this year feels like? It feels like the Giants of like 2007.
Yeah.
They had a way worse record. I think they were like 9-7 still, but they still won. I mean, they defeated the Patriots and all that. So I totally get it. It makes sense on that end of like how we play. Philly ball. I think that the for the playoffs, once they start, I would love to think that we'll get it all together. But this is the 16th, 17th week, and they're still pulling this shit. Like I understand completely your reluctance to go wholehearted into feeling that way. I totally understand.
There's a big difference between last year and this year, Foods, and what that is health. We were the healthiest team in the league last year. All 22 starters in the Super Bowl were week 1 starters. All through the playoff run, all 22 starters were there week after week. I mean, we don't have 2 weeks in a row where we have all 22 of the same starters. And this year's just been tough, man. It's been one of those years to where the health bug has bit us.
And it's funny because you're right. And our health, if you look at this, shows you how difficult it is to get back to the Super Bowl. If you look at the Chiefs, they're even worse situation than we are. Like, Patrick Mahomes is a baby. Like, Kelsey is already affected by Taylor Swift.
He's bringing her down.
Yeah. He's done. It just goes to show you, no one can get off that like hangover snide. It takes a lot, man. It takes a lot. You got a target on your back, all that.
Yeah. Well, when you make it to the Super Bowl or you win the Super Bowl, you're every team's Super Bowl every week. Got that target on your back, to where it's not just a regular Week 17 game against the Cardinals. You're the NFC champs, almost Super Bowl champs. They're going to bring their A game.
Yeah, even the Giants would come prepared.
Even the Giants would come prepared, and I don't think the Eagles didn't look ready when they switched to Tyrod Taylor in the second half, and he was looking good for a little bit, but we held on. I'd rather be 11-4 than and tied for the number 1 seed at this point, and then the alternative. So we still got some time, and the team doesn't seem happy. Foods. You see them after the game. I've seen footage in the locker rooms. Like, they're just unhappy. Like, the team does not seem happy right now.
I think they're unhappy with their performance. And there's a difference between being depressed and wanting to improve. And you're right. They're not – I want to say they're upset with the way they're playing, especially second half. A lot of that. Recently, they were doing well, but this second half yesterday, they weren't doing so hot. However, I think as the days after the game proceed, their confidence is picked up as discussions mount, good or bad. It's just a way to talk through therapeutically,
Well, we're 2 weeks in the playoffs starting, and 3 weeks, and it's going to be exciting to see where we finish off. I think if we get the 2 or 3 seed, we can get there, but not the way we've been playing. They don't pass the eye test. I forget who says that, but a team is what they look like, and you look at the Chiefs, and they don't look like a good team, a great team. They look like a good team. They'll go 11-6 or, something like that. But they're not a great team. They're not going to compete for the Super Bowl this year. And I kind of feel like the Eagles kind of fall into that category. And maybe that is the slump after the Super Bowl that is real. Injury bug has bit them. They just don't pass the eye test to me, like looking at them and just saying, this looks like a really good team. They have some flashes here and there, but
right. Not only injury bug, but I think personnel flaws are also like coming through. Linebacker, lacking of linebacker position, and its value is huge nowadays.
I mean, TJ Edwards is having a monster year this year because you're white. I would have loved to have those guys.
Yeah, and I mean the line's aging. Our D line, our O line is aging, so that has to be replaced. There's a lot of things Howie's going to have to look, into next year. Kelsey probably won't be here no more.
No.
So it's true. It's a shame, but it's Super Bowl or bust this year.
Well, Cam Jurgens is a center by nature, and they did draft him to replace Kelsey.
Right.
He hasn't left yet, so he's been forced to kind of learn some other positions. But he will replace him. But where did it go from there? That's a cycle of the NFL. Foods, you get a window, whether it be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4, and the lucky teams have those long windows, 5, 6 years, but they're rare.
Patriots had 2 windows. They had the ones in the aughts, and then they had to get it in the teens.
Yeah, they did. And, right last year started our window. And, this may be a 3-4 year window kind of thing.
You're not wrong, Foods. You're not wrong. But I think, like you said, it's nice to see that at this juncture in the year, 2023, 2024, we have all our teams are playing meaningful sports. And
they are.
What more can you ask for, really?
You can't ask for any more. And, I feel it was nice to get that championship, that first Super Bowl. I feel like Philly's really ready for another one. I feel like we don't want to wait 10 more years for the next championship, 20 years for the next championship. Let's get a little run going. 3-4 championships in a decade. Let's feel it, man.
It doesn't even have to stop with the Birds. Sixers, you're allowed to get one too.
You are allowed.
There is permission. You are permitted. Hello.
Yeah, man. So these are the exciting times. This is crunch time. I mean, this is crunch time. And then as soon as the Super Bowl wraps up, basketball starts making the push towards the playoffs. The Flyers, hopefully still making a push towards the playoffs. And, we got an exciting next couple months.
Stay tuned.
If you guys are still watching 47 minutes into this video, God bless you. We are going to start doing probably every Tuesday night. So we'll get it released probably like early Wednesday morning. So we're going to start having some consistency at least once a week. So that's what we can do for you guys. And we'll be back next week with a recap and see hopefully another Eagles win. Beef, thanks for joining. And we'll be back hopefully with another win.
Yeah, 12 wins, baby. Great seeing you. 4th and 26. Have a great new year, okay?
Happy New Year, guys.